Hello, welcome to the Self-Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 13, Methods of Research. And our topic is Historical Method. This method recognizes the uniqueness and dynamic nature of societies and cultures. The historical information pertaining to an entity, which could be a society, an institution, or any phenomena, reveals a great deal about the nature of its social dynamism. The data that does not take historical dimension into account gives the impression of timelessness. The historical method collects facts by going to the past in different periods. The sources of information include written records, newspapers, diaries, letters, travelers' accounts, etc. Social researchers generally confine themselves to three major sources of historical information: documents and various historical sources to which historians have access, materials of cultural history and of analytic history, and personal sources of authentic observers and witnesses. When and how and under what circumstances to use all, any, or all these sources depends upon the discretion of researchers' interests, scope of their studies, and availability of sources. You can make direct use of documents when historians have not analyzed the events that they depict and others have not yet incorporated them into the writings of the broader cultural historical settings. You can also use them to supply a missing link in our knowledge of a particular social situation. When historical documents depict events not of generations but of centuries past, it is generally useful for social researchers to utilize the existing secondary data, which may be interpretations or analyses of history. But there are some of the following limitations of these methods. Historians cannot write history life-size. Not all happenings in time and space can be known at the time of writing, and personal biases and subjective interpretations enter unconsciously. At the same time, historical data may be regarded as reliable and adequate for social research. When you present historical documents as complexes of social forces, when social phenomena meaningfully depict intricate social processes and sets of interrelationships, psychological, economic, educational, cultural, religious, contribute to a unified whole, a configuration, or complex pattern. Moreover, the documents which you may study may be personal documents like biographies, diaries, letters, and memoirs, or may be public documents like magazines and newspapers and other published data. Now let us move to the next point: personal documents. These include all the published and unpublished information documented by individuals for different purposes. Personal documents are not written in a scientific style. They generally represent some ideas, values, and feelings, etc. In spite of being subjective and scientific, personal documents have been of value in social research. They provide information about contemporary social circumstances, systems, customs, ways of life, etc. You may come across the following types of personal documents. The first one is biographies. Some great political leaders, social reformers, and eminent persons write their autobiographies. These provide useful information concerning social, political, religious, and cultural conditions and the incidents of their time. Whatever the type of information, biographies provide a few valid and reliable pieces of information. However, the authors might have tried to exaggerate or underrate incidents and their feelings intentionally. They may have deliberately concealed facts which may show their personality in a favorable or unfavorable perspectives. The second one is diaries. Diaries are written with different intentions. Some person write diaries to remember important incidents of their life. Some others review their life. Others review their life from time to time and not in diaries. The information contained in a diary could be very useful in social research. Diaries are used as a technique of sociological research, mainly in literate societies, where it is not always possible to closely observe interaction. You may urge your respondents to write their interaction in diaries. For example, Cubitt used this technique on a sample of couples for a period of 1 week and found that diaries generated useful data. But not many respondents were willing to write diaries for not more than a week. Most diary writers have no intention to publish them. Generally, it is expected that the information recorded in a diary will be reliable. Certain limitations of the diaries are: as diary writing is mainly personal, therefore it does not include detailed and complete description of incidents, but information in a sketchy and rudimentary form. As a rule, a diary does not record the context in which an incident has taken place. This makes it difficult to interpret incidents and understand their real meaning. Diaries are written irregularly and thus lack connection in information. It is very difficult to connect different incidents and feelings described in them. Now let us move to the next point, letters. Letters are the medium of expression of feelings, likes and dislikes, plans, attitudes, desires, emotions, ambitions, and also important incidents of life. They tell about interrelationships such as friendship, love, and marital affairs, tensions, etc. Some notable limitations of letters are: it is difficult to collect private letters. Letters do not provide detailed and complete description of the incident. Now let us move to the next point, memoirs. Some persons are interested in writing memoirs of their travels, excavations, explorations, etc. Some memoirs provide useful information in social research. The next one is public or official documents. You may collect public documents of the following types from some government or non-government institutions. Records. Most government and non-government departments preserves so many types of records consisting of important information and are important sources of information for social research. The next one is published data. You may find several sources of this kind of data. For instance, periodical surveys concerning population, rate of mortality, birth rate, marriage and divorce. Such published documents are very useful. The next is journals and magazines. These are important public documents including information on various aspects which can be utilized in social research. This source of information is quite reliable. The next one is newspapers. The published news, discussions on contemporary issues, report of meetings and conferences, essays and articles, letters to editors are good sources of information and have a good deal of reliability. The collection of primary data is in empirical situation involves one of the two kinds of methods depending on the nature of data required. These are survey method and fieldwork method. As noted earlier, we will discuss these methods in detail in other blogs. Now let us conclude the unit. This unit has provided the prospective researchers an elementary introduction to methods commonly used in social research. Research is needed almost everywhere and therefore it is a good idea to learn research methods, which helps us appreciate how we come to know what we take to be facts. Someone somewhere makes a study and offers the world his or her findings on the subject of research. For accuracy, reliability, and better usability of your research, you would employ scientific methods. We have discussed elements of methodology that provide us with an overall frame for conducting research and selecting appropriate tools for going through the research procedures. We discussed some of the commonly employed social research methods, while for other methods we will go to the units in block 5 and 6. Now let us wind up the session and we have come to the end of the unit. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the self-learning podcast.